listening to the nation's premier source on health, beauty, and wellness. Detroit Nation with Dr. V. Elaine Arterberry. Lifestyle driven.
Dr. Elaine Arterberry for Detroit Nation, bringing you the latest in beauty, health, and wellness. Detroit Nation is committed to driving the nation to health, beauty, and wellness. We're living the dream and are lifestyle driven. We are committed to showcasing Detroit, impacting the entire nation. I am absolutely delighted today to have the founder and director of Detroit Soup, Amy Kaherl. Did I say it right?
Kaherl.
Kaherl. Oh my goodness, it's a hard one. So what if you don't know what Detroit Soup is, and it's been featured really all over the nation, it's a monthly dinner funding micro grants for creative projects for social entrepreneurs. I'm going to get you to tell me a little bit more about it, but people pay $5 for soup, salad, come in, pitch their ideas, and then at the end, you give them all the money?
Yeah, well, the diners get to vote.
Right.
And then whoever has the most votes of the four who pitched will win the money from the door.
Oh, that's fabulous. So I want you to start. I have so many things to ask you.
Okay.
I want to ask you about the White House, but I want to say how delighted I am you're here.
Thank
and the
you.
reason I even knew about you is about 4 years ago, there was an article about you and Detroit Soup in the Wall Street Journal. And it's when people were still in the Detroit bashing mode, which I know you and I both can't stand,
yes.
right? And they talked about this making such a positive impact on the community. But first, I want you to tell me a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, I grew up in Sterling Heights in the suburb, went to college in Grand Rapids, I wanted to get out of Metro Detroit, and I left for about 10 years, got my master's degree in theology and pop culture in Pasadena, and then...
My hometown, Los Angeles,
Yes.
California. I love it.
I
In the
love
suburb
it.
of
I love it.
Pasadena.
I love it.
It's a nice place.
So in 2008, I graduated, I moved back. Unfortunately, my mom passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I have this theology degree where I don't want to work in a church. I have a mother who had fought cancer for a really long time, and my sister was about to get married, and I don't know, I just stuck around. Oh, and
Right.
the housing market crash happened.
Oh, yeah.
And so now jobs are really hard to come by, and I just said, okay, I'm just going to stick around Detroit for
Right.
6 months, and now 6 months have turned into 7 years.
Oh, my goodness. A good 7 years.
Yes, an amazing 7 years.
Tell me about Detroit Soup. Tell me how you
Yeah.
got that going.
So in 2009, a group of women started working together on a women's event up at the Crowfoot in Pontiac.
Okay. My favorite place.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. And this group of women really just realized that we were silos in our work. So a film director, a radio personality, a visual artist, a musician, a photographer, and a theologian and thinker.
Right.
And we had all just really enjoyed it. Our friend Kate had experienced the dinner in Chicago, and we decided that we could do it here in Detroit. And it was Detroiters that have turned it into this amazing event where all are welcome. No ideas not welcome to be submitted.
Right, everybody can
There's
submit,
nothing
right.
about it where you don't have to have an LLC, you don't have to be a nonprofit.
Right.
It can just be an idea.
Right. You don't
And
have to
then-
have a lot of business acumen to
No,
participate.
yes, no. Low barriers to entry. That's so important to me.
Right. So what is really the mission? What is your goal with Detroit Soup? Detroit Soup, it's this idea. People hear about microfunding like Kickstart
Sure.
and crowdsourcing and this type of thing. How is this different?
Well, everything you just mentioned, you have to have an online network.
Oh,
Right?
okay.
And you have to, everything about it is about pushing your campaign online, getting people to talk about it, getting press to pick it up. With Soup, it's a low barrier entry. We have worked really hard to share our story in the community. Our dream is to create a safe space, which I think we've been able to do, where people can feel like if any idea can be shared and get feedback on. And I think for us, it's collaborative. It's participatory. It's a safe space to find out who your neighbors are and find other people who are passionate about the city.
So how does it work? You go online.
So you do submit. So we have 9 neighborhood soups as well as
so you've expanded.
We
It used
have
to be. It started.
expanded.
Where did you start?
We started above the Mexican Town Bakery.
Okay.
And then in 2012, we got a grant from the Knight Foundation. And it was just me kind of on a dare saying, I think we can do this in the
And branch
neighborhoods.
out, right.
And branch out. Because, again, we recognize access to transportation, access to resources.
Everybody can't get there.
Yeah.
Right.
And I only have a limited network of people that I know. I know a lot of people, but
Right.
it still is limited. And so what we found is that people in the neighborhood have said, yeah, I want to run this. So
And start their own soups.
start their own soups. We have 9 happening all across the city.
Oh my goodness.
And the whole goal is, I think, for neighbors to start talking about it to each other, to start to heal from, we can talk about a lot that is going wrong in the community.
Oh, absolutely. And many people do.
Yeah. But you do it with your network and your small siloed group
right,
of
in your
friends.
neighborhood, right.
In your neighborhood. And so here's a safe space to go, here are all these people who have ideas, and now they can collaborate and talk about it together. And we've raised over $100,000 from Detroiters back to Detroiters to help kickstart or to imagine.
To start a project.
To start a project.
What are some of the projects that you guys have funded?
So it expands from land use. I think all of 2013 there wasn't a soup that went by where someone wasn't trying to clean up abandoned properties to
Or something on their block?
on their block.
So it's really micro, like
can
down
be.
to your street.
It can be to as big as a group called the Empowerment Plan that they make the coats that turn into sleeping bags and they give it to homeless.
Oh,
but
wow.
they hire women from homeless shelters and gets them out of the cycle of poverty. And that's empowered a group called Rebel Now, where they take graffiti that's fallen off buildings and turn it into jewelry. And they have 6 women. Both of those groups hire from COTS. They do financial literacy.
What's COTS?
COTS is the Coalition of Temporary
Shelters?
Probably. Yeah, shelters, or it's temporary housing for
Okay.
families. And so oftentimes a lot of these women don't have their own they don't have GEDs. They
Right,
don't
they
have
can't get work.
financial literacy. They can't get work. So they do skills training, financial literacy. They do a lot with nutrition and physical activity. All the women from Rebel Now at the end of the year will own their own homes.
So it started with your thing and then it turned into Rebel Now?
Well, they already had the idea and they pitched it to Rebel Now. They had maxed out their credit cards. They won $1,700. They leveraged it into $7,000.
Wow.
And now they've been featured and Martha Stewart and Wall Street Journal. It doesn't stop. We've become the connector. People from outside of the city look to Detroit Soup, tell us people that we should meet, and then we become the advocates and the flag wavers of these folks.
I think that's really good. You have
Thank
this
you.
huge, strong sense of value and committed. What's really the value system? You talk about community,
Yep.
creativity, collaboration, change. What's really the value system that's driving Detroit Soup?
Oh, man. When I was in seminary, I had this very aha moment where I realized that we make a lot of things very hard for many, many people. And it came down to, I believe in love and I believe in justice, and you can't do one without the other. And I feel like soup was meant for me, and I was meant for soup.
Mm-hmm.
This is
your passion.
This is my love.
Right.
This is the love of my life is this project right
Right.
now. And it really has turned into that. I eat, sleep, breathe
soup.
Detroit Soup, both
Yeah.
literally and figuratively.
So tell me about that. You have Detroit Soup. Give me the other names, the other cities or areas that are involved.
So we're in Brightmoor, Grandmont, Rosedale, the Livernois Corridor area.
All of which have their own soups.
Yep, Hamtramck, downtown, North End, East Jefferson East.
And they meet once a month?
They meet quarterly. So
Okay.
the
Yours
neighborhoods
meets
will meet,
once a month.
But the citywide soup, yep, we meet September through June.
Okay.
Once a month. We'll take July and August off.
Yeah, the summer.
Because the summers are so beautiful and no one wants to sit inside.
Yeah,
You want to
exactly.
go outside and play. In the winter, September, November, October, they're packed.
Right. All right. Well, we're going to take a break and we're going to talk next about our drivers of change. Stay tuned. Detroit Nation, Lifestyle Driven. This is Dr. Elaine Arterberry with Amy from Detroit Soup.
Detroit Nation with Dr. B. Elaine Arterberry, driving the nation to health, beauty, and wellness.
Drivers of Change, showcasing to the world the innovators from Detroit, Michigan, and the nation that are shaping the country. The next part of our segment is Drivers of Change. Our driver of change today is Dina Mohar. She was a 22-year-old pre-med student originally from Bluefield Hills who was actually bored of her pre-med studies and said, I want to do something different with beauty and fashion. And in her Bloomfield Hills home, mixed up wild nail colors and developed the nail polish line called Hard Candy. This may not seem like a big deal now, but then having bright blue nail polish, bright pink nail polish, powder blue, sky blue, green, orange, and hot pink nail polish and neon colored nail polish was a novelty. She developed this into a $25 million business and is now launching a new line of nail products. She revolutionized the nail industry right from her house in Bloomfield Hills. So for that, she is our driver of change for today. Our beauty driver of change. Thanks. We'll be right back. I'd like to keep talking a little bit about soup and talk a little bit about what happened at the White House.
Yeah,
okay?
sure.
You were honored at the White House not that long ago. So tell me about that experience.
Yeah, so a couple years ago, I get this email and it said, nominate your idea for a champion of change of crowdfunding.
You got the email.
Someone sent me the email, someone I don't even know to this day.
Wow,
and
okay.
so I happened to have a couple extra hours that day, and I thought, I've done a lot of stuff for free for people, and I really think that this is something that we could really be nominated for and actually...
And someone might recognize, yeah.
To be recognized for. So... I spent maybe 3 hours emailing people, just saying the same email, but individual emails. It wasn't a bulk email. This was so important to me. So individual emails to everybody that I knew to say, hey, could you just nominate Detroit Soup? It will take 2 minutes.
And just throw it out there.
And just if you could take 2 minutes, nominate Detroit Soup as a crowdfunding champion of change. This could be really incredible and super powerful for us.
Right.
And about maybe 2 months later, my sister was the first to nominate, and she got an email asking for my social security number, which is a background check.
That's a background check.
That's a background check. So I was like, oh my gosh. And then about a week later, we had about 10 days to scramble, and it was my sister, 3 of my best friends, my coworker Sarah Kraft at the time, and one of our interns, Aaron, and you
went to the White House. You were honored.
Executive offices of the White House. Yeah.
It was only 12 people honored. This was a nationwide deal.
Yeah, it was.
This is hot.
We were the only, some of the people were people who had used crowdfunding to start their own brand. Right. Other people were crowdfunding websites. We were the only offline crowdfunding group.
Oh, wow.
And so we got invited to go to these executive offices. We walk into this room. It's very much like
you're all buttoned up a little bit.
A little bit. Well, I was just nervous. I had a dress, I think I had Toms on, and I was just. You can see it under the table. My legs are crossed because that's what I do when I get a little nervous. And, we did 2 different panel discussions with 6 people on each panel, and we talked to. So there was a kid though from the Heidelberg Project who had wrote on a shoe with part of this art event that happened a couple years ago, and it said, I want to go to the White House, I want to meet Obama. So we got to bring the shoe with us.
No.
And Paulette Aniskoff, which is part of Obama's team, took the shoe and put it in front of the White House and took a photo for it. So it's just after the panel discussion, everyone got to go and have different sessions with some White House staff and talk about
crowdfunding
our communities and
what did they say about Detroit Soup? I'm fascinated to get the feedback. At that point, that was a couple years ago. So was Detroit as hot? Yeah, well,
I think
Detroit
it was
the tipping
hot. Point. I think
you do.
I think it was. I think I got here in 2008-9, and it felt like there was a change happening.
Right.
It felt like Detroiters are owning their own story, and it was enough of this Time
Detroit
magazine
bashing
cover.
And Detroit bashing.
Yeah.
Right.
There's something going on here where we can rally around this. People are advocate. Neighborhoods were starting to change. New businesses were starting to come up. People wanted their businesses to be in the city.
Right.
They didn't want to have to leave to go get their beauty products. They
Right,
didn't want to leave to get
every
dinner.
little thing, right?
Yeah, every little thing. And so I think in 2013, the story was just changing. And
really, we
have become, I feel like, I don't know, maybe I was under the illusion.
No, I don't think it's an illusion. It's real now.
Yeah, it's so real. I'm actually going to London in 2 weeks because the BBC has done a documentary on soup, and so 30 soups have started in the UK this year alone. So I got to go out there and do some.
Are they part of your brand or their own thing? They're part of your brand.
They're part of our brand. They're taking our ways of
microfunding.
They're taking it where when you start a soup, I think that we want you to commit to the idea that it has to be low barriers to entry. It's got to be very low cost, so all feel
Everybody
welcome.
doesn't have to be on the internet to get this done.
Yeah.
Right.
I just want that if you can only afford a quarter, to dropping in, 25 or $50, which people do. Like, it's a $5 suggested donation, and some people say, I don't want change for my 10. I don't want change for my 20. So for everybody who can only drop in a quarter, somebody else is taking care of
the balance.
The balance. And so it's been a dream that we've created really accessible spaces for people to share their passions and their dreams.
And so tell me again what happens. You come, you pay your donation, you hear the pitches.
There's 4 pitches.
You allow 4 pitches per
Only
session.
4, yep.
Okay.
And at the Citywide Soup, those who pitch at the Soup, we ask all past winners and anyone who volunteers at Soup. So now, we have 150 people on that email list who vote.
So how many people come usually?
About 150 to 200
that's good.
people. Yeah. So we've done over 100 Soups. So they're democratically selected ahead of time, just connecting with the people who their ideas have gotten vetted. And so they have 4 minutes to share their idea, 4 questions back from the diners. And then the diners get a chance there are sticky notes on the table. So if you know of something or a website or you want to volunteer on their project, you can write it on the sticky note, put it on the board, give them your card.
Oh, wow.
If someone needs a lawnmower or a bag of trash bags.
To help get this done,
even if you don't think they might win at the door or win the money from the door, you have something and you're connecting to it and you want to give it
so
to
even
that
the
person.
non-winners benefit because they may get resources.
Yes.
If they don't get the pot of soup, the pot of money at the end of the soup,
yeah.
they still may connect with someone who may help them do their project.
Yes.
Wow, so everyone benefits.
Yep. So if you're standing in line, if you're sitting at a table with people you don't know, if you're standing in line to vote, you get a chance to look at a stranger and say, well, what project are you going to vote on? And now you've got this connection, and now you're hearing people's life stories. I wanted to vote for this because I'm empowered by women's stories. I want to vote for this because my family has been working along, this line for a really long time, and I really, and now we're just humans talking. It's not about.
And you brought it down to that level, and it's not intimidating.
No.
I think it sounds really fun.
Thank you.
It sounds like a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
Tell me, you're in this really interesting building. You're in this Jam Handy building.
Yes.
First I was like, is it Jan Handy? No, it's Jam Handy.
Yep.
Your house soup, you've moved from the Mexican Town Loft.
Yep.
And now, how long have you been in the Jam Handy building, and where is it?
The Jam Handy building is on East Grand Boulevard between the Fisher Building and I-75.
Okay.
And it is, it started as a church.
Okay.
And then it was a film production studio.
Is it kind of white?
It is kind of white.
Is it on the north side?
It sure is.
How long have you been in there?
Oh, gosh, 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we did our 2-year anniversary in the space, but it didn't have heat. So we used a different space for a while. And then it was just the owner and I, Simeon, had just struck up a good friendship.
Okay.
And we've been using it ever since. So we've helped put heat into the building.
And get it
new
together.
doors. We've helped rehab certain spaces in it. And our friendship has just been awesome. I actually live in the neighborhood now.
Okay.
I own a house around the corner.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So it's been a dream. So the Jam Handy was a film studio. East Grand Boulevard, actually, that corridor was like Paramount Studios at one point.
Are you kidding? Is that why there's all those big lofts? And
Yep. So Chap Lofts used to be a Jam Handy building. The Harani Studios was a Jam Handy.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
They used to make movies on West Grand Boulevard?
Oh, absolutely. East Grand Boulevard.
East Grand, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, this is so interesting.
So
it is kind of a little interesting strip there.
It totally is. And so there's a lot of buildings that have been demolished since the time. They closed up shop in the 80s, and from the 80s until the early 2000s, it was 2 different televangelist churches, and then they went into tax foreclosure, and then Simeon bought the building in the tax auction 4 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay.
To 2012. Gosh, time flies.
Interesting.
It's
an interesting story about that street. Okay.
It is very interesting. So he just told me, he's like, I went down to the library, at the public library, there's a box that has all of Jam Handy stuff. And he's like, Amy, you got to go check it out because the street, you wouldn't even recognize it. It was the spot. There's actually, so the Jam Handy did a lot for GM, specifically Chevy.
So they did commercials.
They did commercials, but they did
propaganda.
Everything car ads, car musicals, car films. Wow. You can Google search Jam Handy archives, and there's thousands of videos online. There's a guy who owns a house right behind the building, and then that was the workshop, and you could see where the doors kind of line up, so you could move the sets from one
place
to the
to another.
other, and there's a ramp so it could go up, so you could drive a car down
how
back
fascinating.
there. It's fascinating, the stories that we've heard. And since we've started Soup Out of There, we've had a lot of people say, I used to work here. I used to work and be a part of this.
Are you kidding?
No, it's been incredible to hear the stories. It was a driver of economy for a really long time.
Oh, it was a huge issue.
Yeah, and so he was a pure capitalist. It was a really interesting, fascinating space, and I live in the midst of all of it.
We're going to take a quick break,
Okay.
Amy, and we'll be right back in 1 minute.
You are listening to Detroit Nation with Dr. V. Elaine Arterberry, driving the nation with health, beauty, and wellness.
I'm here today. This is Dr. Elaine Arterberry with Amy from Detroit Soup, the founder and director who does micro grants to improve our community here in Detroit. It's at this point, Amy, I'm going to ask you what we call our lifestyle-driven moment.
Right.
I always want to know, whenever I meet people like you that take a small idea and literally blow it up to a concept where now you have 9 soups in this community and you're going to get 30 soups, 30 micro grants. Is this blowing your mind?
It blows my mind.
Tell me what you want our audience to know. What is it that takes you from that little seed and gets you going every day? What is it?
It's watching people win that money. It's watching people walk out with those sticky notes. It's watching their face light up. Watching people who were complete and utter strangers talk and interact and engage with each other. That creates a safer, healthier community where we're thriving, where integration starts to happen, where racism is lessened, where we start to hear people's stories and it becomes a human thing rather than all the other stuff
That gets laid on.
that gets laid on it when we don't know how to communicate with each other. We like to put those labels on there because it helps make things easier. But when you have people's passions, that makes it a lot easier.
Oh, I think that's wonderful. What do you see Soup doing in the future? Like I know you're expanding into the UK. Do you have any competition? I saw something about Smart Soup.
I have no clue. I mean, I think this community in Detroit is so collaborative that if they want to start their own soup, all they have to do is ask. It doesn't. I mean, we always say yes. We'll find a way to collaborate and to participate with it.
It's a Smart Soup, something in Tech Town. I don't know. Similar concept.
I think Smart Soup. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But Tech Town is our fiscal sponsor, so Tech Town. No competition there.
I noticed you had a ton of sponsors. Tell me how that evolved. Did it happen organically, or did you go after them?
Very organic. It was all about relationships. So NEI, that was about
NEI,
the New Economy Initiative.
Okay,
they're grant makers for us. The Knight Foundation, Skillman Foundation, just building relationships with a lot of those foundations and just saying, this is a gap that I think we see that we can fill, that we're just getting people ready. We're getting people ready for the present. I know there's a lot of things that's driving us into the future.
Right, and what Detroit's going to be in 3 years and 5 years. People are obsessed about this, right?
Right, but I recognize we're going to totally lose the population that has been here for a long time. I recognize that there's a 40% illiteracy rate. I recognize that there's a 40% functional poverty people are living in. Let's get people ready now. Let's not skip into everything's on our smartphones, even though that's important.
Yeah.
Some people don't even have a smartphone yet. So let's fill
the gap. Or
can't afford it or don't want it.
Right.
So let's just fill gaps. Let's get cleaner, safer neighborhoods. Let's get community members talking. Let's get ideas to the forefront. Let's make our streets safer, our kids a little smarter.
We're a big believer at Detroit Nation about healing the community.
Yes.
I mean, we talk about health, beauty, wellness, and I don't mean that in its most superficial. I mean that if you don't have a healthy community, you don't have a healthy life. If you can't step outside and walk your dog or, take a breath of fresh air without feeling threatened, because maybe you don't know your neighbors, maybe you've never talked to your neighbors. These kinds of opportunities allow you to get to know somebody who lives 3 blocks away in a safe, and really interesting environment. Do you think that community wellness, what you're doing is community wellness?
Absolutely.
Are you helping the community? Tell me how.
Absolutely. I think we're helping the community in the way where if you have this idea and you're sitting on it and you've been told no by people, because I hear it all the time.
Or I don't have enough money.
I don't have enough money. I don't know. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if people will buy into it. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. I don't have enough. We stop ourselves all the time.
You stop from saying that.
Yeah. And what we do is we get people in front of people and we get feedback, healthy, positive, encouraging feedback.
Right.
And either you keep going with the idea or you tweak it, you stop it, maybe you're not ready for it, or you get that money, or you get these sticky notes, or you find the right person I've done this before, let me help you. I watch it all the time. That's safe.
So how does that make you feel?
Elated. I
all
love
the
it.
time?
I
Are
love
you
it.
like
No,
geek for every soup?
No, because it's exhausting.
Oh, I'm sure it's a lot of work.
And it's a lot of work, but you do it in the midst of it. I just feel like I have created for myself the coolest job in the world. But it hasn't come without sacrifice. And it hasn't come, I mean, there were weeks where I was working 70, 80 hours a week. Just on the hustle.
Just to get it going.
Just to get it going, just to keep it moving. And I think it's totally paid off. And, I think I can't do the work if I'm not healthy either. Like if I'm exhausted and it's
right,
beating
and
me
you have
up,
the support, you can't do it. You can't
do
be
it. Yeah,
right.
and I burned out last year because I was working way too much.
Really? How did you treat yourself? What did you do to
I treated myself.
What did you go to vacation?
Day. I did a treat yourself day where you just go and you get your nails done.
And you go to the spa, right?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, and you say this is worth it, and you're worth it. I took a really long road trip.
Okay.
And I went
a driving trip.
I love to drive. I love music. I love podcasts. So I'll just get in my car and I'm by myself.
This will be on a podcast when you're done.
I know. I can listen to it. Yeah. And so I can, for me, I think I can't really check my email because that's not safe.
Yeah,
and I'm not really on the phone.
Right.
It's just me, my thoughts,
and the music,
and just you just keep. I remember thinking to myself, I'm just praying. I said, "Universe, God, like, I'm miserable. I can't keep going on this way."
Right.
And it started to change. I started to change. I got remotivated. I got excited. I took a giant notebook and I sat down like by the ocean on Tybee Island by Savannah.
Oh yeah.
And I just started mapping everything. What could this be? What else can this be? Who do I need to be a part of this team? We were working with a different nonprofit and it just stopped kind of being healthy for me.
Right.
And all of a sudden I started asking people like, hey, would you sit on my board? And when people used to say no, we're now saying yes. And so it's
that
just, I
so
needed
cool.
to change. I needed a break. I needed to not burn out.
And you needed some new perspectives.
I needed a new perspective.
So you could evolve. I mean,
Absolutely.
And it's probably, do you think that's what helped you launch the London version? I mean, that's a real big expansion.
Yeah, it's not even that. It's like for that, they came to us that I want to do this, And so we have an open source guide on our website that's called Start Your Own. And it's just a guide. It's 20 pages.
Right.
We just revamped it a little bit, making it a little bit cleaner to read.
Right.
Made it a little bit more accessible, and now we're just gonna they're doing it. I'm just gonna go to London just to empower the leaders who are trying to make it happen.
You are like my perfect guest. I am absolutely this whole show is about people who start something in Detroit and impact the whole nation.
Yeah,
and I believe that there's people here. It's not all Iowa.
I'll give you a bunch of people that I know who are doing it.
Right. It is huge. We are really a nation. We are a focal point. And I think it's because when you go down so far and you're the butt of jokes of the national media, including the TV people and late night.
Yeah.
And then look where we've come now. I mean, and there's so much more to do. I think you're a tremendous part of this.
Thank you.
What do you like best about being in Detroit now? Oh. You said at one point you fell out of love a little bit with
Detroit.
Well,
I think I think anyone does. I think many people do. I think for me, those winters get real tough.
Oh yeah.
But there's nothing better than a Detroit summer. I've been spending almost every Saturday or Sunday on Belle Isle.
Just God, yeah, it's
playing
fabulous.
In the water, grabbing some food, grabbing my buds, just hanging out by the beach, just relaxing. I've read 10 books this summer. I've really just our rooftop is awesome. I've got a pretty great tan. I've worked really hard on it.
Good for you.
Because I love the sun. I want to soak it up as much as I can for as long as the sun's going to stay
out
until
before it gets chilly
cold again. Yeah. I think that there's a magic here of people. When I first moved here, I just felt like I landed in the island of misfit toys.
You're so funny.
And I was broken. I was hurt, but I have lived in Christian community for almost my whole life. Mm-hmm. I have never felt more loved and more accepted and more believed in and more supported and encouraged than by the people, because it was just like, look, we're all in this together. You want to do something? We're going to go to your art show. And, you know, you just started showing up and you just started hanging out and you started connecting with people. And I have the best friends of my whole life by people I've met here. I've rehabbed a house. We've rehabbed another house. We've just been part of the community.
And it is a blessed feeling, isn't it?
I'm immensely blessed. I am so loved. I am so encouraged, and I love so many people in return.
I think it's fabulous.
Thank you.
I thank you so much for being here,
Thank
Amy.
you so
I
much
have
for
been
having me.
dying for you to get on the show. I've been hearing so much about what you're doing for Detroit
Pleasure
and the
to meet
nation,
you.
and it's been such a pleasure. Thank you for tuning in. This is Detroit Nation. We are lifestyle driven. Follow us on 313 Nation Radio, hashtag lifestyle driven. And as always, achieve your personal best, then beat it. See you next week.